the racism. So terrorism and racism. The racism is not a new word, and it's actually used before as a kind of description, one-word description of the American society. It's a racist society. And we're so lucky here in New Zealand to have this diverse society, but at the same time friendly society. Very hard to find a diverse society, colorful, multicultural society where people live together in peace and in harmony. There is no kind of racism. Racism of non-Christians in the United States, racism against the black, racism against the migrants, racism against the people of dark skin, racism against all the others who are not, as they say, non-Americans, are actually a concept or an ideology that have been transformed or transferred from America to many parts of the world. And if we look at this concept of racism, we can understand why so many wars in the world actually been operated and emerged. It's because of this concept that somebody is better than the other, because of the race, because of the religion, or because of the skin color, or because even of the origin, the country of origin. And here in New Zealand, lucky we have this, as we said, this mix of cultures, and then we have at the same time friendly environment and society. You guys are bored? Do you feel sleepy? Are you okay?
Yes.
Are you okay?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. But I'm not okay. 2014, there were 2 hate crimes against non-Christians in Kansas City. So these are some of the examples: hate crimes against the Christians, and the people who have been accused to do these hate crimes. Some of them have been accused of these people who have been accused of hate crimes have different identification and have different classification by the media. And that is the first one here. And you know what was said about this hate crime? It wasn't said as terrorism. And this lovely Somali guy, can you see his smile? So he also was killed, and that was also one of the crimes that have been committed because of racism, right? I'm just moving quickly, right? Now, as you know, the racism and terrorism are fostered mainly by the media. And the media is playing the biggest role in this racism thing. The media feeds this phobia, and also some politicians use it, and some stereotype Muslims and Islam also. They stereotype Muslim and Islam, media and some politicians, and hate crimes against the Muslims rise sharply. So start with the media, then politicians, then after that some stereotyping Muslims, and because of all of these, the hate crimes against Muslims increase because of the Islamophobia. Are you guys okay? It's not the wrong place, we can sit down here. We have Fox News here. Okay? So this is one of the examples of Fox News. I think if you watch Fox News for a couple of hours a day, you're going to be admitted into the mental health hospital in New Zealand. You're going to lose your brain, your mind. So the media, Fox News, all what they say about, or talk about how Islam is bad and how Muslims are crazy and how this Islam thing, when it comes into the life of the people, they turn into aliens and they start thinking about eating other people and killing them anonymously. And all of these things, the news usually tell the people what they need to know or what they want them to know, not what they need to know. So here the Fox News, for example, this is one of the few media channels that actually foster the idea of Islam. And also you can see here why the crimes that is attributed to Muslims always identified as terrorism, and any other crime or any other attack or any other killing or mass murder is never identified as crime unless it is attributed to Muslim, or some Muslim could be the doer of this kind of crime. Otherwise, it doesn't need to be identified as a terrorist attack. This is another also case. Somebody was actually that's kind of sort of assault on a baby and abortion, illegal abortion, and also it was a kind of a killing and also violating the laws, and it was not identified as a terrorism act or terrorist attack because the guy here is not a Muslim anyway. Again, why this is not terrorism, attacking Muslims or attacking civilians by anyone who is not attributed to Islam can't be attributed or can't be described as a Muslim. This guy here is named after this shooting that happened in the USA recently, in the last couple of years, and there was a mass killing of 50 people in this club there, and it was identified by the by the media as a terrorist attack, even though there is no evidence that this guy was a doer. But anyway, because it's done by Muslim, or there is a Muslim name involved with, then immediately this guy or the act was identified as a terrorist attack. Now, what I want to come out or I want to come to this conclusion that any act of violence which is attributed to a Muslim, even it's allegedly attributed to a Muslim, straight away the media says it is a terrorist attack. But if it's attributed to somebody else or committed by anyone else, no matter how much damage has been done, no matter how much killing has been done, it is still something different. It could be just a psychological problem. This guy is actually, we should feel sorry for him because he had an issue with his partner somehow, so he was upset when he left home, and to express his anger or his upset, he grabbed his gun and he just killed the 25 people. It's okay, no problem. We take him to hospital. But if the Muslim has, done something like that, then take the whole nation to war because of that. Subhanallah. Right. So these type of crimes that if we want to be fair and to remove the prejudice from the scene, we have to be very tolerant, or we have to be very clear when we identify a crime. Any crime to be done, whether it is done by anyone, by a follower of faith of Islam or a follower of a different faith, it has to be introduced or to be identified in the right format or in the right meaning, right? So we can see here, these crimes here are not these. We can ask this question: are not these crime lynching, informal public executions by a mob in order to punish an alleged transgressor or to intimidate a minority group of people? This is another also crime that has been committed. As you can see, 26 victims, but it was not also classified as a terrorist attack. This is also another example. I just want to go quickly. Look at those two guys. Wow, amazing. Those two guys are amazing, aren't they? Do you know these guys? Do you know them? Have you ever seen their photos before? They must be a Muslim because they got a beard, and that she must be a Muslim because she got hijab, right? She got something to cover her head. And also this was also an incident that had been identified as a terrorist attack because of the Muslim. Just trying to give you some example. And this policeman here also was involved in some crimes, and it was also not classified as terrorism. We just would like to move quickly to find out, to come to this conclusion that in the media and the stereotype definition of terrorism and terrorist attack, we find always Islam on the dark side, and there is no fairness, and there is no clarity in the definition of any crime to be whether it's a terrorist attack or non-terrorist attack. And the one who makes this decision is the one who got the media in his hand and if the person involved in this type of crime is a Muslim, straight away the media jump to this conclusion and call it as a terrorist attack. Otherwise, it is just, just an ordinary act of violence, which can be identified in different ways and in different forms. Moving quickly because I don't want to take your time. That's another example of also some sort of crime that has been committed and it hasn't been identified as a terrorist. Now, I need to ask you these questions, and you guys may help me ask this question. I don't believe in the conspiracy. I don't believe in the conspiracy theory. I don't believe in that because I don't want to look at the people the way that they look at me. If the people suspect me because I am a Muslim, I shouldn't also suspect the people and say those guys are bad intention. Those guys are, they are racist. Those guys are this and that. Because I don't know what is there in their mind. It's because of maybe ignorance, lack of information, they may have this attitude. And I remember also when I was in Hawkesbury, I was living there, I used to I was close to the mosque, and I used to dress up and take my wife and my kids and walk by the street. And we have some neighbor there, an older couple, and they used to stand in front of their door and look at us while we are coming closer to them. And by the time we approach them, they go inside quickly and close the door. And then when we leave, we pass by them, they open the door and look at us again. And then one occasion, was on Friday, I tried to create or to ask, try to initiate a conversation with them. So while they were about to close the door, I reached them quickly and said, "Good morning, lovely ones. How are you today? You know what? The very sun is very beautiful." And I start talking about weather. And you see, this is my wife here, this is my children. I start introducing myself, and this is our mosque there. And we are going every Friday. We go every Friday to do this and that, and we start talking about everything part of from religion. Anyway, so the guys came to know that those are not aliens. They're just normal human beings. They also have hands with 5 fingers. Really? Yes. They look different, but they are just so humans anyway. So this is. We don't assume the conspiracy. Anyway, let's put this conspiracy theory aside. So it's not but if you look at these practices of the media or the politician, is it not a conspiracy against Islam to always associate Islam with terrorism? Is it not a conspiracy? From the politician and the media, is it not a conspiracy against Islam? Is it not a conspiracy to charge Muslims and to define Muslims as terrorists and to blame them for all things that happen on the face of earth? Anything bad that happens on the face of earth, it must be a Muslim. Must be a Muslim. If there is an earthquake in New Zealand, there must be a Muslim somewhere. He's diving under the ground and he shook the ground underneath the Christ Church, and he called this earthquake. But why? The question why? What are the goal of this conspiracy? If this conspiracy is there, and we shouldn't take it for granted, but in case there is a conspiracy against Islam and Muslim, what could be the reason for this conspiracy? Some politicians have some political agenda. Some countries have some agenda as well to manipulate the wealth of other people on other lands. Some parties they want to domain or control or to get to high position, so they use this as tools for them to get in the right position. Some, businesses and some, kind of what we can say, some owners of companies and multinational businesses, they also use this to manipulate the masses and the crowds. So they are behind this theory of Islamophobia or this Islamophobia thing, and they are trying to make it look stronger and stronger so that they can benefit from this outcome. Could be politicians, could be businesses, could be people who have something and they have prejudice, could be anyone, but there must be a reason behind that. It doesn't come from a vacuum. Look at this guy. Oh man. You know that, of course. Who is this guy? Trump. Donald Trump. Before he became the president of America, he utilized the attacks that has been committed in Paris, and he asked the people in America to collect all the information about Muslims in a database. Exactly the same thing that has been done in Nazi time in Germany. But nobody spoke about that and said, that's a Nazism. It's not fair. It's racism. It's not going to bring any benefit to the country, because he utilized the media, the Islamophobia, to reach his goal. I don't know what he was pointing to. Actually, this is only the photo available, but I hope I have a full picture so we know what he was doing. Look at his teeth. Amazing. Fake, by the way. The same guy again. Again, this guy, he is also utilizing his position or his party to use, utilizing what is happening in Islam, or also by Muslims, by some fanatical Muslims somewhere in the world, to manipulate the Americans and convince them that we've got to do something about this Islam thing. We've got to stop the migration of Muslims to United States. We've got to do that. We've got to do that. And as you see, this is also part from the agenda or the policy of what we call the conspiracy. The stereotypes. Stereotypes also is one of the reasons of Islamophobia. We can add them, and I don't like to add it, but anyway, that could be added to the racism and terrorism. Stereotypes. To stereotype the people and just describe them because of what they eat and what they drink and why they dress. So stereotype all the Muslims or all the followers of this faith are just a copy and paste, as I said. And of course, they use the word jihad to say any Muslim is a jihadist. And because of this Islam thing, the people got something wrong into their mind, so they end up doing jihad and they commit crimes in the name of jihad and the name of Islam. And of course, this is another way of misexplanation, misinterpretation of the concept in jihad. And jihad is identified as a holy war, but there is no existence of this word in the books of Islam at all. This holy war, there is not such a thing called holy war, but it's also a kind of manifestation of the stereotyping. Let's look at this word, the jihad, which is used to stereotype the Muslims. We have in Islam two types of jihad. As you can see, we have a greater jihad and lesser jihad. The greater jihad is struggling to make yourself better, and the lesser jihad is about self-defense or violent war, and it's within very limited perspectives, and it always comes under the self-defense policy, which is a legitimate right for everyone to defend themselves. So to use the word jihad for any kind of self-defense or any kind of Muslim who is just trying to pursue their own rights somewhere in the world, it's not fair, because the Muslims are jihadists in terms of they are struggling to make themselves look better or to fix any kind of ill feelings or lack of information or lack of education in themselves. It's counted as also a type of jihad. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, as I said earlier, that he is the Prophet of Islam. He is also the one who spoke about the jihad. And in Islam, as I said, jihad or fight is only allowed in the case of self-defense. But he identified the word jihad to be fighting to or struggling to achieve a betterment of soul and inner soul. Hate crimes against Muslims in America. After 9/11, because of this production of the Islamophobia, then a lot of hate crimes increased or appeared to exist in the society of America as an example of a dominant society and an exporter of culture. Because America exported their own cultures and their own thoughts and political agendas to the whole entire world. And so if we take them as an example, we can understand why this hate crimes against Islam is spreading all over the world. After 9/11, the hate crime against the Muslim increased, and those are the two girls who have been shot to death by somebody who shot them by an American guy who shot them because they were Muslims and they were covering their heads. And this was also an example of the hate crime that has been committed against Islam. Just because of being Muslims, this is, as you can see, how the hate crime increased recently, after 9/11, and it's, it doesn't go down. It hasn't gone down. It's still going on, but it's lesser than before. But anyway, it's relatively very high. The hate crimes against Islam and against the Muslim as well. Many examples we can see against the Muslim and hating them, and as you can see here also, this is some mosque that has been targeted because of the hate crimes, and the number going really very crazily up because of this hate crimes against Islam, because of Islamophobia. And this is also examples of the Islamophobia and hate crimes. These are also some examples of the hate crimes against Islam, and you can see that these are some violent demonstrations against Islam and asking Muslims to leave and stopping Islam from coming to America and showing Islam as a threat to the American society. This also from the news, and this is also armed group of people who were ganging outside a mosque to call for the banning of Islam and Muslims from coming to America. More examples also against Islam and using very abusive words to call Islam and Muslims and to show Islam as something that's unrequested or unacceptable in the American society. This is also another case of hate crimes against Islam. Even it goes even to the children. The hate crimes against Islam for the by killing the children or abusing the children as well because of them being Muslims or related to Muslim family. This is also another example of the hate crimes. Also in businesses, they are actually trying, based on this Islamophobia, to stop Muslim from trading or engaging in any business activities and creating some businesses that only open for the people who are not Muslim. So like before, they used to say no black, no dogs, no black people, no dogs. They are actually trying to introduce this concept, no Muslim, in this restaurant or anything like that. So that's also another manifestation of Islamophobia, and how this Islamophobia will actually create this hatredness and animosity among the members of the same nation and people who live on the same land, and it will bring about again this international or world wars, and will lead the world actually to a very dangerous end, which is going to make the people hate each other and got up in armies to fight for their own basic rights, which is actually not what we're looking for. We're looking for people living together side by side in peace and coexistence, and this actually will help the humanity to move forward and progress. And that's the time of questions. Looks like you guys, you have lost. Are you still alive? You okay? It's almost 7 o'clock now, so I don't want to take much of your time. I know that this type of talk is very formal and very annoying because it has a lot of statistics and a lot of graphics and a lot of things. But I just want to move quickly over this idea, cover it as much as possible, that Islamophobia is not a production of today. It is a production of a lot of work that has been done behind the scene to make Islam, because Islam now is the target, but I don't think it's going to be that for a long time. They will find another target to use as an enemy or a threat. But nowadays Islam is the target and objective of this hatred and phobia. But maybe you never know in the near future or in the far future who's going to be next after Islam. The people kind of lose trust in what the media have to say, or what the media says about Islam, or what the politicians say about Islam. So this is what I want to say about Islamophobia, and also Brother Yasser has covered areas where Islamophobia manifestation is very severe, where you see fight going on over the basic rights in Kashmir and in Syria and Iraq and many other places in the world. But particularly these areas are very hot areas. Blood is shed every day. People are deported from their land, evacuated from their land every day, and people are suffering a lot, and they're looking for basic human rights. but they even don't have these basic human rights, the right to live in peace in their own land, or the right to live in peace and harmony with the environment around them. They even deprived from this self-determination right, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of faith, and freedom of of life. But anyway, this is the world that we live in, and we have to deal with it, and we have to, as people of civilization, people of knowledge, people who represent our own selves and our own families and our own beautiful community and society, we have to get engaged with each other and to come to know each other, and we have to remove from the scene whatever that might stop us from understanding each other and getting along with each other because of being a religion, or because of religion, because of culture, because of ethnicity, whatsoever. We shouldn't let anything stand between us and getting to understand the people that we share the land with, or the people we share with this earth with, including the whole entire humanity. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so sorry to trouble you with my annoying voice, if it's annoying, and I hope that you have enjoyed some of my silly jokes, and I wish you guys the best of everything tonight and every night, inshallah. And if you have any questions, please put your hand down and ask any question you want. Put your hand up, sorry. Any question?
Yes, Sheikh.
Yes?
Yeah, it's just a kind of question and a comment. If we look at the history of those movements like Qaeda, Taliban, and ISIS, we will find out that Al-Qaeda was founded in 1988, ISIS 2007, and Taliban 1996, which means every 8 years we have a new
birth.
A new birth.
Yeah, a new baby.
Is it truly a religious problem, or it is a tool for economic interest? Or
Look, Islam has been there in Syria and in Iraq for more than 1,000 years, and the people already know what is Islam and what Islam is all about. So, for any new group of people to come to introduce a new shape and format of Islam, we've got to question them. What that all about? Why you guys are doing that? So they actually do not represent Islam because they're not in a position to introduce Islam to the people who have been practicing Islam for thousands of years. So it means that those people have a different agenda that is not from the Muslim land, from the Muslim theology, from the Muslim culture, from the Muslim civilization. It is something different that purposely are introduced to this area, or to this community, to this society, just to change the people's understanding of Islam, and to introduce Islam in a way that will serve the goals of other people who want to utilize this land, or who want to have a hand or a foot in this land. So that's called Qaeda and ISIS and many other groups are a production of people who have nothing to do with Islam at all, because they are just there to create an excuse for these external forces to have their own place and location in this land, to serve also other agendas, political agendas, including like controlling the oil supplies, petrol supplies, controlling or balancing the superpowers in the world, and so the earth doesn't shake, so they make some balance, superpower here and one superpower here. But if all the power on one side of the earth will go like that. Sorry, it looks so funny, but that's actually the case. They want to have this balance. Must be powers distributed everywhere. So China is here, America is here, Russia is here. So we have to maintain this balance, these weights, so keep the earth on a standard balance. Yeah.
Yeah, and
so that's the truth. So
yeah, as you are interested in linguistics, so linguistically speaking, three of them, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and ISIS, are not Islamic-related terms. And the kind of acronym they use for ISIS, it's not the naht that we use in Arabic when we use coinage.
Yes, true.
Yeah, it's not Arabic at all.
From a linguistic point of view,
yeah.
They are not actually they are not the familiar way or the grammatical way or the linguistic way of creating names or giving names in Arabic. So it's just like, it seems that this is a kind of imported packages that, used to serve a certain purpose anyway. Any more questions? Yes? Thank you so much.
And I was wondering, so I hadn't heard this idea about ISIS being, I suppose, a Mossad. Were you implying that it's entirely Israeli fabricated, or are there some extremist groups who kind of entirely fabricated, or is it?
It's not entirely fabricated, because when people are under some sort of pressure or oppression, they are ready to adopt anything that will help them get out of this stress. Like suppose somebody is, for example, doesn't have access to food or water or medicine, and they are under attack from everywhere 24 hours 7. They can't be safe for one single day. And somebody approaches those group of people or this nation and say, look guys, I have a solution, I have an option for you to get out of this stress. Come and join me, we're going to help you out to have control over the land or to have your own freedom and your superiority over this land. The people unconsciously are going to follow this call because they want at the end of the day to have their basic human rights. So the situation in Iraq and Syria was very stressful, and the people were actually suffering a lot to find the basics of life, and they are unsafe. They experienced a lot of instability and insecurity. So they were looking for anyone that can help them out. And unluckily or unfortunately, the people who approached them to provide a solution were those ISIS people who actually were trained and they were created somewhere else. So those people actually manipulated those people who are in need for help and utilized them to formulate and to create a bigger group named under this title or under this ISIS banner, and they promised them that we're gonna, under this leadership or under this strategy, we are going to achieve for you at least basic or a decent human life, provide for you the basic human rights. So some of the members of this ISIS group are Muslims, and they born Muslims, and were practicing Islam. But because of their situation or their stress and the oppression that they underwent for many years, then they accepted to join those people. Actually, they accepted to dance with the devil because they believed at the end of the day they will get their basic human rights. But they found out